The stars looked different from the bridge of the UES Navigator. Captain Jake Morrison stood at the main window, watching the alien planet grow larger on the screen. After 6 months of traveling through space, they had finally reached Kepler 442, a system that humans had never visited before. Jake was a tall man with brown hair and steady blue eyes. He had been chosen to lead this mission because he stayed calm under pressure. Behind him, his crew worked at their stations, checking systems and preparing for what could be the most important day in human history. Dr. Lisa Parker walked up beside him. She was the ship's medical officer, a smart woman with red hair who always carried her medical scanner. "The readings look good, Captain," she said. "The atmosphere on their planet is breathable for us, though it's a bit thicker than Earth's." Lieutenant Commander Ryan Carter joined them at the window. He was head of security, a former Marine with black hair and sharp green eyes. "I don't like going in blind like this," he said. "We know almost nothing about these aliens." Jake nodded. "The radio signals we picked up seemed friendly enough. They invited us to meet them. That has to count for something." 3 weeks ago, the Navigator had detected artificial radio signals coming from the third planet in this system. The messages were in a language they couldn't understand, but the mathematical patterns suggested intelligence. When Earth's computers finally decoded some of the signals, they found an invitation. The aliens wanted to meet. "Captain, we're getting another transmission," called out Communications Officer Ben Taylor from his station. He was a young man with blonde hair who had learned alien languages faster than anyone expected. "Put it through," Jake said. A series of clicks and hisses filled the bridge. The computer translated the sounds into English words that appeared on the screen. "Human vessel navigator, we welcome you to our space. Please follow our ships to the meeting place. We are honored to make first contact with your species." Through the main window, they could see 3 alien ships approaching. The vessels were long and curved like giant metal snakes with glowing engines at the back. They were beautiful in a strange way, but Jake noticed they were also heavily armed. "Those are some big guns on those ships," Ryan muttered. "Maybe they're just being careful," Lisa said. "First contact is scary for both sides." The alien ships led them to a massive space station orbiting the planet. It was shaped like a wheel with spokes connecting the outer ring to a central hub. Lights twinkled along its surface, and Jake could see hundreds of smaller ships docked at various ports. "That thing is huge," Ben said. "It's at least 10 times bigger than our largest space station back home." As they approached, Jake felt a mix of excitement and worry. This was what humanity had dreamed of for centuries, meeting another intelligent species among the stars. But he also knew that first impressions would matter a lot. A new message came through. "Captain Morrison, I am High Commander Thesic of the Vexari Empire. We have prepared a welcome dinner in your honor aboard our flagship. Please bring your senior officers." Jake looked at his crew. "Lisa, Ryan, Ben, you're with me. Everyone else stays on the ship and keeps our systems ready." The shuttle bay doors opened to reveal an alien ship waiting for them. It was sleek and silver, with no visible weapons. As they climbed aboard, Jake got his first look at the Vexari. They were tall, maybe 7 feet, with scaly green skin and large golden eyes. Their faces were long and narrow, almost like lizards, but they walked upright, like humans. High Commander Thesic wore elaborate robes covered in metal decorations that clicked when he moved. "Welcome, humans," Thesic said in heavily accented English. "We have waited long to meet another space-traveling species." The alien flagship was impressive inside. The corridors were wide and tall, with smooth walls that seemed to glow with their own light. Strange symbols covered every surface, probably Vexari writing. The air smelled different, not bad, just alien. They were led to a large dining hall with a curved ceiling painted to look like the night sky. A long table sat in the center, loaded with food that Jake didn't recognize. Some dishes looked like fruits, others like cooked meat, but the colors were all wrong. Purple fruits, blue meat, silver vegetables. "Please sit," Thesic said, gesturing to chairs that had been made for human size. "We have studied your transmissions and prepared foods that should be safe for your biology." Jake sat down carefully. Around the table were a dozen other Vexari, all wearing robes and watching the humans with those big golden eyes. Their faces didn't show emotions the way human faces did. but Jake sensed they were very interested in their guests. "This is quite an honor," Jake said. "We've dreamed of this moment for a long time." "As have we," Thesic replied. "The Vexari have ruled this region of space for over 2,000 years. We have met many species, but none quite like humans." The dinner began with strange ceremony. The Vexari brought out glasses filled with a glowing blue liquid. "This is our traditional welcome drink," Thesic explained. "In our culture, sharing this beverage means we accept you as friends." Jake lifted his glass and looked at the glowing liquid. It didn't smell like anything, but it seemed to move on its own, swirling slowly in the glass. Lisa gave him a worried look, but Jake knew this moment was important for human-alien relations. "To friendship between our species," Jake said, and drank the liquid in one gulp. It tasted sweet at first, then bitter, with a strange tingling sensation that went down his throat. The Vexari all drank their own glasses and made approving sounds. "Excellent," Thesic said with what might have been a smile. "Now we are truly friends." The meal continued with more strange foods and polite conversation. The Vexari asked questions about Earth and human culture. They seemed especially interested in human history, particularly wars and conflicts. Jake tried to present humanity in the best light possible, talking about art, science, and exploration rather than battles. As the evening went on, Jake began to feel a little dizzy. The alien food was sitting heavy in his stomach, and the air in the room seemed too thick. He figured it was just the stress of first contact in the strange alien environment. Lisa noticed his discomfort. "You okay, Captain?" she whispered. "Just tired," Jake replied quietly. "This has been a long day." Ryan was watching the Vexari carefully. Something about their behavior seemed off to him, though he couldn't put his finger on what. They kept looking at Jake with those golden eyes, and a couple of them were whispering to each other in their own language. After 3 hours, the dinner finally ended. Thesic stood up and spread his arms wide. "This has been a great honor," he announced. "We hope this is the beginning of a long friendship between humans and Vexari." "We hope so too," Jake said, though his voice sounded weaker than before. As they returned to their shuttle, Jake felt worse. The dizziness was getting stronger, and his hands were starting to shake a little. Lisa kept looking at him with concern, but he didn't want to seem weak in front of their new alien allies. Back on the navigator, Jake went straight to his quarters. "I need some rest," he told his crew. "We'll continue talks tomorrow." But as he lay down on his bed, Jake Morrison had no idea that he was slowly dying. The glowing blue liquid hadn't been a friendship drink at all. It was poison, carefully designed to kill mammals like humans. The Vexari had no intention of being friends. They saw humanity as a threat that needed to be eliminated before it could grow strong. High Commander Thesic watched the human ship through his window and smiled a cold reptilian smile. By morning, the human captain would be dead, and his species would learn that the Vexari Empire did not share space with anyone. Jake Morrison woke up feeling terrible. His head pounded like someone was hitting it with a hammer, and his stomach felt like it was full of acid. The room spun when he tried to sit up, forcing him to lie back down and close his eyes. Something was very wrong. Jake had eaten strange foods before during his years in space, but nothing had ever made him feel this sick. His hands were shaking and cold sweat covered his skin even though his quarters felt warm. He pressed the communication button beside his bed. "Dr. Parker to the captain's quarters, please," he said, though his voice came out as barely a whisper. Lisa. Parker arrived within minutes carrying her medical bag and scanner. She took one look at Jake and her face went pale. "Captain, you look awful. What happened?" "Started feeling sick after dinner last night," Jake managed to say. "Getting worse?" Lisa pulled out her medical scanner and ran it over Jake's body. The device beeped and flashed as it collected data. Her frown deepened as she read the results. "Your heart rate is way too fast, your blood pressure is dropping, and your nervous system readings are all over the place. This isn't food poisoning. Jake, this is something much worse." She helped him sit up slowly and shined a light in his eyes. Your pupils are different sizes and your reflexes are weak. These are signs of poisoning. Poisoning? Jake asked, though deep down he wasn't surprised. From the dinner? Has to. Nothing else makes sense. Lisa continued her examination, taking blood samples and running more detailed scans. I'm going to run these through the medical computer. Try to rest while I work. Jake lay back down and tried to think clearly through the fog in his brain. If the Vexari had poisoned him, it meant the friendly dinner had been a trap. They weren't interested in friendship at all. But why poison him? What did they hope to gain? An hour later, Lisa returned with Ryan Carter. Both of them looked grim. The blood tests confirm it, Lisa said. There's a foreign substance in your system that doesn't match anything in our medical database. It's attacking your nervous system, trying to shut down the connections between your brain and body. Ryan's jaw was tight with anger. Those lizard bastards tried to kill you. The question is why. Maybe they see us as a threat, Jake said weakly. A new species moving into their territory. Well, they picked the wrong human to poison, Lisa said, checking her scanner again. Jake, your body is doing something I've never seen before. Look at these readings. She showed them the medical scanner's display. Even through his blurry vision, Jake could see the numbers were changing rapidly. Your white blood cell count has gone through the roof, Lisa explained. Your immune system is fighting this poison harder than I thought was possible. And your liver is processing the toxin at an incredible rate. Ryan leaned forward. What does that mean? It means Jake might actually survive this, Lisa said with amazement in her voice. Whatever they gave him should have killed a normal person by now, but his body is fighting back. Jake felt a tiny bit of hope. So I'm going to be okay? I think so, but I need to understand why. This isn't normal human biology. Lisa pulled up more data on her tablet. Jake, I need to ask you about your family history. Any unusual illnesses or resistances to diseases? Jake thought as clearly as he could through the pain. My grandfather worked in chemical plants his whole life. Never got sick from any of the toxic stuff he was around. My grandmother survived 3 different plagues that killed most people in her town. Always said our family was hard to kill. That might explain it, Lisa said excitedly. Some humans have genetic variations that help them resist toxins and diseases. It's rare, but it happens. Your ancestors might have passed down genes that make you incredibly resistant to poisons. Meanwhile, Ryan had been monitoring alien communications. He walked over to Jake's bed with a worried expression. I've been listening to Vexari radio signals. They're not trying to hide their transmissions very well. What are they saying? Jake asked. They're confused. Really confused. They keep talking about how their test should have worked by now. They're running scans on our ship trying to figure out if you're still alive. Lisa's scanner beeped again. She looked at the results and smiled for the first time since arriving. Jake, your vital signs are stabilizing. The poison concentration in your blood is actually going down. Down? Ryan asked. How is that possible? His body is breaking down the toxin faster than it can do damage. It's like watching a supercharged immune system in action. Lisa took more blood samples. This is incredible. Jake's body isn't just surviving the poison, it's learning to fight it. Jake felt the fog in his brain starting to clear. The headache was still there, but not as bad as before. I can think more clearly now. Your nervous system is recovering, Lisa confirmed. Whatever genetic advantages you have, they're working overtime right now. Ryan was still monitoring alien signals. The Vexari are getting more worried. They're talking about sending someone over to check on our ship directly. We can't let them know Jake is recovering, Lisa said quickly. If they realize their poison didn't work, they might try something more direct. Jake struggled to sit up, and this time he managed it without the room spinning. Help me to the bridge. We need to understand what we're dealing with. Jake, you should rest, Lisa protested. No. If they poisoned me once, they'll try again. We need to be ready. Jake stood up slowly, holding onto the wall for support. He was weak, but he could move. On the bridge, Ben Taylor was monitoring alien transmissions with growing concern. Captain, Thank God you're okay. The Vexari have been sending a lot of coded messages since last night. What kind of messages? Jake asked, settling into his command chair. Military communications. They're moving ships into position around us. It looks like they're preparing for something. Ryan pulled up the tactical display. 3 more Vexari warships have arrived in the last hour. We're surrounded. Lisa continued taking readings from Jake with her portable scanner. Your recovery is accelerating, Jake. The poison levels in your blood are dropping fast and your body is producing antibodies. Antibodies? Jake asked. Your immune system has figured out how to fight this specific toxin. Not only are you getting better, but you're now protected against future attempts to poison you with the same substance. Jake felt strength returning to his body. The Vexari had made a serious mistake. They thought they could eliminate him quietly, with poison. But instead they had given him immunity to their weapon and revealed their hostile intentions. Ben, any more alien transmissions? Jake asked. Yes, sir. They're discussing something called Protocol 7. The computer is still trying to translate the technical terms. Ryan checked the weapon systems. Our defensive systems are online, but we're seriously outgunned if they decide to attack directly. They won't attack yet, Jake said, his mind becoming clearer by the minute. They're still hoping the poison will work. They want it to look like I died from natural causes, not from an attack. Lisa looked at her scanner results with growing excitement. Jake, I'm seeing something incredible here. Your body has not only defeated their poison, but the antibodies you're producing could protect other humans too. What do you mean? I mean, we might be able to create a vaccine. If the Vexari have used this poison on other species, we could potentially save lives across the galaxy. Jake felt anger building inside him, replacing the weakness from the poison. The Vexari hadn't just tried to kill him. They were probably using the same tactic on other innocent species. How many first contact scenarios had ended with murdered ambassadors? Lisa, I want you to synthesize as much of that antidote as possible. Ryan, keep monitoring their communications. Ben, send a coded message back to Earth explaining the situation. What are you planning, Captain? Ryan asked. Jake stood up from his chair, feeling stronger than he had since the dinner. The Vexari think they've killed me. Let's let them keep thinking that while we prepare for what comes next. Outside the ship, Vexari sensors continued monitoring for signs of life aboard the Navigator. But their scanners couldn't detect the remarkable recovery happening inside, or the fact that their perfect biological weapon had not only failed, but had given humanity its first major advantage in what was about to become a very different kind of first contact. By the next morning, Jake Morrison felt better than he had in months. The poison that should have killed him was completely gone from his system, and his body felt stronger than before. Dr. Lisa Parker couldn't believe the medical readings she was getting. This is impossible, Lisa said, staring at her scanner. Not only has the toxin disappeared from your blood, but your immune system has created the most powerful antibodies I've ever seen. It's like your body learned to fight a war and won. Jake flexed his hands, feeling the strength return to his muscles. How powerful are these antibodies? Powerful enough to protect you from this poison forever. But that's not the amazing part. Lisa pulled up data on her tablet. Jake, I think these antibodies could protect other humans too. If I can synthesize them properly, we could create a vaccine that would make our entire species immune to this type of biological weapon. Ryan, Carter burst onto the bridge with urgent news. Captain, we've intercepted more Vexari communications. You need to hear this. Ben Taylor played the translated messages through the bridge speakers. The computer's voice was flat and emotionless as it read the alien words. High Commander Thesic to Science Division. The human subject should be dead by now. Mortis 7 has never failed to eliminate mammalian life forms within 12 hours. Another voice responded. Science Division to High Command. Our sensors show continued life signs aboard the human vessel. The toxin may have been insufficient for their biology. Thesic's reply was filled with anger. Impossible. Mortis 7 kills everything with warm blood and a spine. We have tested it on 47 different species across the galaxy. It has never failed. Jake felt sick, but not from poison this time. 47 species? How many beings have they murdered? According To their own records, thousands, Ryan said grimly. They've been using this poison for decades. They invite species to diplomatic dinners, poison their leaders, and then move in to conquer the confused survivors. Lisa looked horrified. They've turned first contact into mass murder. How many civilizations have they destroyed this way? Too many, Jake said, his voice hard with anger. But they picked the wrong species this time. Ben called out from his station. Captain, we're receiving a direct transmission from High Commander Thesic. Put it through, Jake ordered. Thesic's image appeared on the main screen. The tall reptilian alien looked concerned, though it was hard to read emotions on his scaled face. Captain Morrison, we have been monitoring your vessel for signs of distress. Our medical experts are concerned that the meal last night may not have agreed with your human biology. Jake almost smiled. The alien was fishing for information, trying to find out if the poison had worked without admitting what he had done. Thank you for your concern, High Commander. I did feel unwell for a while, but I'm completely recovered now. Thesic's golden eyes narrowed slightly. Recovered? That is good to hear. Perhaps we could arrange another meeting to discuss our future relationship. I'd be happy to meet again, Jake said calmly. But this time, I think we should meet aboard my ship. I'm curious to learn more about Vexari culture and history. Of course, Thesic replied, though he didn't look pleased. We will arrange a suitable time. After the transmission ended, Ryan shook his head. He's planning something. That wasn't the face of someone who's given up. You're right, Jake agreed. Lisa, how long until you can synthesize that vaccine? Give me 6 hours and I can produce enough antidote to protect our entire crew. Give me 12 hours and I can create enough to protect a small city. Start immediately. And I want you to record everything. How the poison works, how the antidote is made, everything. This information needs to get back to Earth and to every other species the Vexari have threatened. Ben looked up from his communication station. Captain, I'm picking up a lot of traffic on Vexari military frequencies. They're talking about moving their battle fleet into attack positions. How many ships? Ryan asked. At least 20 warships, plus their command vessel. They're surrounding us completely. Jake studied the tactical display showing red dots representing enemy ships in all directions. The navigator was alone, vastly outnumbered with no chance of escape if the Vexari decided to attack directly. They're getting ready to abandon the poison plan, Jake realized. If they can't kill me quietly, they'll do it the hard way. Lisa looked up from her work synthesizing the antidote. Jake, there's something else you need to know about these antibodies your body created. They don't just protect against Mortis 7. What do you mean? I've been analyzing the molecular structure. These antibodies seem to provide broad protection against an entire family of similar biotoxins. If the Vexari have other biological weapons, you might be immune to those too. Ryan raised an eyebrow. How is that possible? Think of it like this, Lisa explained. Jake's immune system didn't just learn to fight one specific poison. It learned to recognize and destroy a whole category of toxins that work the same way. It's like having a master key that opens many different locks. Jake felt a strange mixture of hope and responsibility. His body's unusual reaction to the Vexari poison might be the key to protecting not just humanity, but all the species the aliens had been oppressing. Ben, can you access the Vexari communication networks without them knowing? I've been monitoring their signals, but breaking into their secured channels would be risky. They might detect the intrusion. Do it anyway. I need to know how many species they've used these biological weapons against and whether any survivors are still out there. Ben's fingers flew over his console. After 20 minutes of careful work, he managed to crack their communication codes. I'm in, Captain. Downloading their military databases now. The information that came through was horrifying. The Vexari had detailed records of their biological warfare campaigns against dozens of different species. Some civilizations had been completely wiped out. Others had been reduced to slavery after their leaders were assassinated. Look at this, Ben said, highlighting one file. The Karathi people on Epsilon Eridani. The Vexari poisoned their entire diplomatic corps 3 years ago. The survivors are still under Vexari control, forced to mine rare metals for the Empire. And here, Ryan pointed to another entry. The Zenith Federation. 21 different worlds brought under Vexari rule after their leaders died from mysterious illnesses during peace negotiations. Jake felt his anger growing. The Vexari weren't just hostile aliens, they were systematic murderers who had built their empire on treachery and biological warfare. "Captain," Lisa called out, "the antidote synthesis is nearly complete, but I've discovered something important. The formula isn't just a cure, it could be used to create a weapon." "What kind of weapon?" "If we reverse the process, we could create a compound that would be specifically toxic to Vexari biology while being harmless to most other species. Their own research into biological warfare could be turned against them." Jake considered this carefully. Part of him wanted revenge for what the Vexari had done to countless innocent species. But he also knew that using biological weapons would make humanity no better than their enemies. "Continue working on the protective vaccine," he decided. "If we have to fight them, we'll do it honestly." High Commander Thesic's voice suddenly boomed through the ship's communication system. "Captain Morrison, our patience grows thin. You will surrender your vessel immediately, or we will be forced to take more direct action." Jake looked at his crew. Lisa was working frantically to complete the antidote. Ryan was preparing their limited weapons systems. Ben was copying Vexari military data as fast as possible. "Ben, open a channel to the Vexari flagship," Jake ordered. "Channel open, sir." Jake stood up straight and looked directly into the camera. "High Commander Thesic, I know what you tried to do to me last night. I know about Mortis 7 and I know about the 47 other species you've murdered with your biological weapons." Thesic's image appeared on screen, his golden eyes wide with surprise. "Your poison didn't work," Jake continued. "Not only did I survive, but my body has created a defense against your weapons that can protect others. The age of Vexari biological." "Warfare is over," Thesic hissed with rage. "Impossible! No species has ever resisted Mortis 7. "You underestimated humans," Jake replied calmly. "We're harder to kill than you thought, and now we're going to make sure you can never poison anyone else again." The alien commander's face twisted with fury. "Then you have chosen death, human. All ships, prepare to attack!" Jake turned to his crew as Thesic's image disappeared. "This is it, people. They're done pretending to be friendly. Battle stations." The real fight was about to begin. 20 Vexari warships surrounded the navigator like hungry sharks around a wounded fish. Each alien vessel was 3 times larger than the human ship, bristling with weapons that glowed menacingly in the darkness of space. High Commander Thesic was confident this would be over quickly. Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship, watching the enemy fleet close in. His crew worked at their stations with calm efficiency, but he could see the worry in their eyes. They were outnumbered, 20 to 1 with no chance of running away. "Ryan, activate the hidden systems," Jake ordered quietly. Ryan Carter smiled grimly and entered a series of codes into his tactical console. "Gladly, Captain." Suddenly, the navigator transformed. Panels slid away from the hull to reveal powerful shield generators. What had looked like scientific equipment unfolded into weapon arrays. The communications dish rotated and became a massive sensor array capable of jamming enemy systems. "What the hell?" came Thesic's voice over the radio. The Vexari commander was staring at his screens in confusion. Those weapons weren't there before. "Surprise," Jake said calmly. "Did you really think humanity would send an exploration ship into unknown space without any way to defend itself?" The navigator had been designed to look peaceful while carrying some of the most advanced military technology Earth had ever built. The hidden weapons and defenses had been disguised so well that even detailed scans couldn't detect them. "All ships, open fire," Thesic screamed. Green energy beams lanced out from the Vexari fleet, striking the navigator's shields. The ship shook, but the barriers held. Advanced human shield technology absorbed and redirected the alien weapons' energy. "Shields holding, at 90%, Ryan reported. "Their weapons are powerful, but not as advanced as they think." Jake had studied the intercepted Vexari communications carefully. Their empire was old and proud, but that pride had made them lazy. They hadn't improved their technology in centuries because they never faced real opposition. Biological warfare was easier than building better ships. Ben, start the electronic warfare, Jake ordered. Ben Taylor's fingers danced over his console. Invisible signals reached out from the navigator, probing the Vexari ship's computer systems. Within minutes, he had found weaknesses in their networks. "I'm in their communications grid," Ben reported. "Their security is terrible. They never expected anyone to fight back technologically." The first Vexari ship to feel Ben's work was a heavy cruiser on the fleet's left flank. Its weapon systems suddenly shut down, then its engines, leaving it drifting helplessly in space. "What happened to the destroyer, Kess?" Thesic demanded over the radio. "Systems failure, High Commander," came the panicked reply. "All our computers have stopped working." "Impossible. Vexari technology is superior to all others." Jake almost laughed. "Your technology is 200 years out of date. You've been using fear instead of innovation for so long that you forgot how to build good ships." Two more Vexari vessels lost power as Ben's electronic attacks spread through their fleet. The aliens had networked all their ships together to coordinate attacks, but that same network became a weakness when the humans turned it against them. "Lisa, how's that antidote coming?" Jake asked. Dr. Lisa Parker looked up from her portable lab station on the bridge. "Almost finished. But Jake, I've been monitoring alien communications about other species in this region. There are survivors. From the civilizations the Vexari conquered? Where? Prison colonies throughout this star system. Thousands of aliens from dozens of different species, all enslaved after their leaders were poisoned. If we can get this antidote to them, they could fight back," Jake finished. "Ben, can you broadcast on frequencies that would reach those prison planets?" "Already working on it, Captain. I'm tapping into the Vexari communication network to boost our signal strength." The battle continued around them. The navigator's advanced weapons picked off Vexari ships with precise shots that disabled rather than destroyed them. Jake had decided. Early on, that wholesale slaughter wasn't the answer. These aliens needed to be stopped but not wiped out. "Captain," Ryan called out, 3 more enemy ships are powering down, but their flagship is still fully operational and heading straight for us." Thesic's massive command ship was twice the size of the other Vexari vessels, heavily armored and bristling with weapons. It had better shields and more advanced systems than the rest of the fleet. So the High Commander kept the good technology for himself, Jake observed. The flagship opened fire with everything it had. Massive energy beams struck the navigator's shields, draining them rapidly. The ship shook violently as the barriers began to fail. "Shields down to 30%, Ryan reported. "That thing packs a serious punch." "Time to get creative," Jake said. "Ben, can you hack into their flagship?" "I'm trying, but their security is much better than the other ships. Give me a few more minutes." They didn't have a few minutes. The Vexari flagship fired again, and the navigator's shields flickered dangerously. "Lisa, is the antidote ready?" Jake asked urgently. "Yes, I've got enough synthesized to protect millions of people from Vexari biological weapons." "Then let's give it to everyone who needs it." Ben broadcast the antidote formula on all frequencies. "Make sure every species in this system gets it." Ben's transmission went out across the star system, carrying the molecular formula for immunity to Vexari biotoxins. On prison worlds throughout the system, alien scientists and doctors began receiving the information that could free their people from centuries of oppression. The first response came from a planet called Karathi Prime. Unknown. "Human vessel. This is Dr. Vex of the Karathi Resistance. We are receiving your transmission about biological immunity." "Is this real?" "It's real," Jake replied. "Test it quickly. Your freedom depends on it." Within an hour, reports started coming in from across the system. The antidote worked perfectly on every species that tried it. Aliens, who had lived in fear of Vexari biological weapons for generations, suddenly found themselves immune to their oppressor's most feared weapon. "High Commander," came a panicked voice over Vexari communications. "We're receiving reports of uprisings on 12 different worlds. The slave populations are somehow immune to Mortis-7 and our other biotoxins." Thesic's voice was filled with rage and confusion. "How is this possible?" Our biological weapons have never failed before. Because you never faced humans before, Jake answered. We don't give up, and we share our knowledge freely. Your empire was built on biological warfare, and now that weapon is useless. The Vexari flagship fired again, but this time the navigator was ready. Ryan had been analyzing the alien weapon patterns, and he fired back at exactly the right moment. The human ship's advanced energy weapons struck the flagship's main gun just as it was charging, causing a massive explosion that crippled the alien vessel. Their main weapon is down, Ryan reported, and their engines are damaged. All across the star system, formerly enslaved populations were rising up against their Vexari overlords. The aliens' biological weapons were useless, and their conventional military was spread too thin to control dozens of rebellions at once. This is Commander Zeta of the Zenith Federation, came a new voice over the radio. Human vessel, we owe you a debt that can never be repaid. Our people are free for the first time in 20 years. This is Chief Engineer Corks of the Deltani Republic. Our colonies are throwing off Vexari rule as we speak. How can we assist you? Jake smiled as more and more voices joined the transmission. Species that had been enemies or strangers to each other were uniting against their common oppressor. High Commander Thesic, Jake called out to the crippled Vexari flagship. Your empire is falling apart. Your biological weapons don't work anymore, and your conventional forces can't fight everyone at once. It's time to surrender. Never, Thesic screamed. The Vexari will never surrender to inferior species. Then you'll fall with your empire, Jake replied sadly. But your people don't have to. Any Vexari who want to live in peace with other species are welcome to join the new alliance we're building. On the bridge of the navigator, Ben looked up from his console with a huge grin. Captain, I'm getting surrender requests from 8 Vexari ships. Their crews are abandoning Thesic and asking for mercy. Grant it, Jake ordered. Anyone who stops fighting can go home safely. The battle was ending not with destruction, but with liberation. The Vexari Empire, built on centuries of biological warfare and terror, was crumbling as its victims found the strength to fight back. But Thesic wasn't finished yet. His damaged flagship limped toward the navigator, preparing for one final desperate attack. High Commander Thesic's flagship limped through space toward the navigator, smoke trailing from its damaged engines. Half of his fleet had surrendered, and the other half was drifting powerless in space. But the proud Vexari commander refused to give up. If I cannot rule this galaxy, then I will destroy the humans who ruined everything, Thesic screamed at his remaining crew. Prepare the self-destruct sequence. We will take them with us. Jake Morrison watched the approaching flagship on his tactical display. The alien ship was badly damaged, but it was still big enough to destroy the navigator if it exploded nearby. Captain, that ship is on a collision course, Ryan Carter reported, and I'm detecting massive energy buildup in their reactor core. They're going to blow themselves up. How long until impact? Jake asked calmly. 3 minutes at their current speed. Jake looked around his bridge at the crew who had followed him into the unknown and helped him change the course of galactic history. Ben, open a channel to all ships in the system, including the Vexari vessels. Channel open, sir. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Human Vessel Navigator. High Commander Thesic is attempting a suicide attack that will accomplish nothing except more death. I'm asking all ships in the area to witness what happens next. Jake turned to Ryan. Target their reactor core with our precision weapons. Don't destroy it. Just destabilize it enough to prevent a massive explosion. Sir, that shot has to be perfect. If I miss by even a few meters, we could cause the exact explosion we're trying to prevent. I trust you, Ryan. You've never let me down. Ryan's hands moved steadily over his weapons controls. The navigator's advanced targeting systems locked onto the flagship's reactor. At exactly the right moment, he fired a single, precise energy beam. The shot struck the Vexari reactor with surgical accuracy. Instead of exploding, the reactor simply shut down, leaving Thesic's ship drifting powerless just 1,000 meters from the navigator. Thesic, this is your last chance, Jake called out. Surrender now, or spend the rest of your life drifting in space. For a long moment, there was silence from the Vexari flagship. Then Thesic's voice came through, quieter than before and filled with defeat. How? How did a single human ship destroy an empire that lasted 2,000 years? You destroyed yourselves, Jake replied. You built your power on fear and murder instead of strength and honor. When we took away your ability to poison people, you had nothing left. The Vexari were the greatest species in the galaxy, Thesic protested. Maybe you were once. But greatness isn't about how many people you can kill with tricks and poison. It's about what you can build, what you can create, what you can give to others. Dr. Lisa Parker looked up from her medical station. Jake, I'm getting reports from across the system. The antidote is working perfectly on every species that's tried it. Entire worlds are throwing off Vexari rule. How many worlds? Jake asked. 43 planets so far, representing 22 different species. They're all declaring independence and asking to join some kind of alliance for mutual protection. Ben Taylor was monitoring communications from across the star system. Captain, you need to hear some of these messages. The first voice belonged to Commander Zeta of the Zenith Federation. Captain Morrison, our people have been slaves for 21 years. Today, for the first time since the Vexari came, our children are playing freely in the sunlight. How can we ever thank you? Another voice joined in, this one from the Karathi Resistance. The mining camps are empty, Captain. Our people are free. We're naming our capital city Morrison in your honor. More voices followed, species after species reporting their liberation from Vexari biological warfare. Some had been enslaved for decades, others for over a century. All of them were free because a human captain had refused to die when he was poisoned. Do you hear that, Thesic? Jake asked. That's the sound of your empire crumbling. Not because we destroyed it with weapons, but because we gave people hope. Thesic's reply was bitter. You have doomed the galaxy to chaos. The Vexari brought order to these systems. You brought fear, Jake corrected. There's a difference between order and oppression. Ryan was studying his tactical displays. Captain, we're getting requests from multiple species to help them coordinate. They're new governments. They want humanity to help lead some kind of galactic alliance. Jake thought about this carefully. Humanity had come to this star system looking for peaceful first contact, and instead they had accidentally started a revolution that freed dozens of worlds. It was a big responsibility. Tell them we're honored by their trust, Jake decided. But we're not here to rule anyone. We'll help them build something new, a real alliance based on mutual respect and shared knowledge. Lisa finished analyzing data from across the system. Jake, the medical reports are incredible. Not only is the antidote protecting people from Vexari biotoxins, but it's actually improving their immune systems against other diseases too. We might have accidentally created a medical breakthrough that will save millions of lives. How is that possible? Your genetic resistance wasn't just to one type of poison, it was to an entire family of biological threats. The antibodies we synthesized are giving other species the same broad protection that saved your life. Jake smiled, thinking about his grandparents who had survived plagues and toxic chemicals. Their genetic legacy hadn't just saved him, it was saving entire civilizations. Ben, send a full report back to Earth, Jake ordered. Include everything. The Vexari threat, the antidote formula, and the formation of this new alliance. Humanity needs to know what we've stumbled into out here. Already working on it, Captain. But it'll take months for the message to reach Earth. That's okay. We'll be busy here for a while anyway. Thesic's voice came through the communications one last time. What will happen to my people, human? Will you exterminate the Vexari as we tried to exterminate others? Jake considered the question. Seriously, any Vexari who want to live peacefully with other species will be welcome in the new alliance. Your people have knowledge and skills that could benefit everyone. But the days of biological warfare and forced conquest are over. And those who refuse to change? They'll find themselves very alone in a galaxy full of species who are no longer afraid of them. Over the following weeks, Jake watched the transformation of the star system. Former enemies worked together to build new governments. Species that had never trusted each other began sharing technology and knowledge. The Navigator became the unofficial headquarters of what people were calling the Galactic Freedom Alliance. Lisa's medical research continued to produce amazing results. The antidote she had developed from Jake's immune response was saving lives throughout the galaxy, not just from Vexari biotoxins, but from dozens of other diseases and poisons. Ryan helped coordinate defense plans between the various worlds, making sure that no other empire could easily conquer the newly free planets. Ben established communication networks that let different species talk to each other instantly across vast distances. 3 months later, Jake stood on the bridge of the Navigator, looking out at a very different galaxy than the one they had entered. What had started as humanity's first diplomatic mission had become something much larger. "Captain," Lisa said, joining him at the observation window. "I've been thinking about what happened. The Vexari tried to poison you to prevent humanity from becoming a threat to their empire. And instead they gave us the key to destroying that empire," Jake finished. "It's ironic, isn't it? They created the exact threat they were trying to prevent." "More than that," Lisa continued, "if they had just been honest from the beginning, if they had offered real friendship instead of poison, they might have kept their empire and gained a powerful ally." Jake nodded. "Fear made them stupid. They were so afraid of competition that they destroyed themselves trying to eliminate it." The communication system chimed with another message from Earth. After months of travel, Jake's reports had finally reached home. The response was everything he had hoped for. Humanity was sending more ships, more diplomats, and more medical supplies to help build the new alliance. "Ready for the next adventure, Captain?" Ryan asked. Jake Morrison, the man who had survived alien poison and accidentally started a galactic revolution, smiled as he looked out at the stars. "Always, my friend. Always." The universe was a big place, full of wonders and dangers. But thanks to one failed assassination attempt, it was also a little bit safer and a lot more hopeful than it had been before.